Wicked. For good ending explained. How does it connect to the Wizard of Oz? How do Elphaba, Glinda, and the Wizard's stories end? Wicked. For good ends on a bittersweet yet beautiful note. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo lead the second of John M. Choose two movies adapting Stephen Schwartz and Winnie Halsman's hit stage show Wicked for the big screen. That musical, playing on Broadway since 2003, was adapted from Gregory Maguire's 1995 revisionist novel, itself inspired by Frank Baum's 1900 classic, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. In theaters as of November 21st, For Good concludes the stories of Grande's Glinda the Good and Erivo's Elphaba, a.k.a. the Wicked Witch of the West, tying their origins to the events that fans of 1939's The Wizard of Oz movie know and love. What happens during that conclusion? Is there more to the story, and where does Dorothy Gale of Kansas fit into all this? Read on for the ending of Wicked. For Good, explained. How does Wicked, For Good end? Wicked. For Good mirrors Act 2 of the musical it's based on. Grande charts her character's rise to bubble-riding Glinda the Good, a public figure helping the so-called wonderful wizard Jeff Goldblum and power-hungry Madame Morrible Michelle Yeoh turn Oz against a rebellious Elphaba and the land's animals. After Fiero Jonathan Bailey leaves Glinda at their wedding for her best friend, and Morrible summons a fateful tornado that kills Nessarose, a.k.a. the Wicked Witch of the East, Marissa Bode, Erivo portrays Elphaba's decision to let Dorothy kill her. Our green-skinned heroine gives the Grimmery spell book to a newly empowered Glinda, and the two reconcile, singing the ballad For Good. But after Glinda witnesses Elphaba's apparent death by a bucket of water, the latter emerges within Fiero's castle to greet her lover, who's been turned into straw thanks to her earlier protective spell. The two flee Oz as Glinda takes over, arresting Morrible, welcoming back the subjugated animals, and ordering the wizard to leave with Dorothy after they learn he was, in fact, Elphaba's father all along. The events of Wicked overlap with the well-known events of Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and its 1939 Judy Garland-led adaptation. Although Wicked, For Good keeps its focus on Elphaba and Glinda, it adds in glimpses of Dorothy's story from the witch's perspective, from the arrival of the Kansas girl's house in Munchkinland to her throwing a bucket of water, which, it turns out, Elphaba had set out to stage her death. For example, Dorothy's feet dangle, in close-up as her face is never shown, from the clutches of a flying monkey. And she, her beloved Toto, and their three companions can be spotted in the wizard's chamber as he instructs them to hunt down Elphaba. Fiero's Scarecrow isn't seen head-on until the very end, while the grown-up Cowardly Lion, voiced by Coleman Domingo, was introduced in an earlier scene with Elphaba and her former nanny Dulcibert, voiced by Sharon D. Clarke. After Bach, Ethan Slater, was transformed into the Tin Man thanks to Nessarose and then Elphaba's use of the Grimmery, he appears to embrace the wizard's order, joining the Oceans in singing March of the Witch Hunters. He and a mystified Glinda, whom a munchkin has pined over, share an ambiguous look as he goes off to seal Elphaba's fate. Glinda doesn't appear to have much patience for Dorothy, dismissing her along the yellow brick road, instead of the train, and outright rolling her eyes when a young girl fails to join the wizard in his departing hot air balloon. It's always something with her, Grande's Glinda says, bringing Dorothy's time in Oz to its end. What does the final shot of Wicked, For Good mean? Wicked, For Good's last scene shows Elphaba, leaving Oz with Fiero, looking back on her home, and seemingly toward Glinda, atop the wizard's Emerald City Palace with the Grimmery. But as both characters appear to bid farewell and the chorus sings that no one mourns a Wicked, the final shot cuts to a brief flashback. A Wicked, Part 1 scene, previously only glimpsed of Elphaba, Glinda, and their friends watching the sunrise in a field after their late night at the Oz's Ballroom, concludes a new movie. A white-clad Glinda can be seen leaning in under the brim of Elphaba's witchy hat to whisper into her ear. The moment is in homage to the stage musical's famous poster, a drawing of a woman in white whispering to a smiling green-skinned witch. Considering Wicked, For Good, like its predecessor, ends with a dedication to the team that created Broadway's Wicked, it's clear Chu and his filmmaking team wanted to honor Schwartz and Halsman's musical. Will there be a third Wicked film? There is no credits sequence at the end of Wicked, For Good, or any indication that the story will continue in another installment. As the two movies span the entirety of the Wicked musical, fans should not expect a Wicked Part 3. Of course, Halsman, Schwartz, Chu, and the powers that be at Universal Pictures could conceivably plan a return to Oz. Wicked is based on McGuire's series of books that began with Elphaba's story but continued with 2005's Son of a Witch, 2008's A Lion Among Men, and 2011's Out of Oz. To date, there have been no announcements of further adaptations. Wicked, For Good, is in theaters now. Go behind the scenes of the sequel with People's new special issue available here.